Why do humans always end up at each other's throats? You see it everywhere, from ancient battlefields to Twitter or X arguments. Humans have been at war for over 10,000 years, and it's not because of resources, territory, or even ideology. Those are just excuses. The real reason we can't stop fighting goes deeper than politics or history. It's psychological. Here's the uncomfortable truth. We don't fight because we're broken or evil. We fight because it's hardwired into our DNA. Archaeological evidence shows violence existed long before civilization, governments, or even organized religion. The drive to create enemies and engage in conflict isn't a bug in human programming, it's the core feature. And until you understand why your brain needs enemies to function, you'll keep falling into the same traps. You've been told humans were peaceful before civilization corrupted us, but here's what they don't want you to know. For decades, you've heard the same story about human nature. We were innocent hunter-gatherers living in harmony with nature. Then cities, governments, and organized religion came along and turned us violent. This comfortable lie is called the noble savage myth, and it's completely wrong. The truth is much darker. Archaeologist Lawrence Keeley spent years digging through prehistoric sites across the world. What he found shattered everything we thought we knew about early humans. These weren't peaceful communes, they were war zones. Keeley discovered fortified settlements from over 10,000 years ago. Massive stone walls surrounded entire villages. Watchtowers stood at strategic points. These weren't built to keep animals out. They were designed to stop human attacks. The evidence gets worse. Mass graves, filled with bodies showing clear signs of violence, skulls crushed by clubs, arrowheads embedded in rib cages, defensive wounds on arms and hands where people tried to protect themselves. At sites like Crow Creek in South Dakota, archaeologists found 500 bodies thrown into a single pit. Men, women, children, entire communities wiped out. The Talheim death pit in Germany contained 34 people, including infants, all killed with stone axes. These weren't isolated incidents. They happened everywhere humans lived. Here's the part that will shock you. Keeley calculated prehistoric murder rates using bone evidence from dozens of sites. The numbers are staggering. Prehistoric societies had murder rates between 10 and 60 times higher than the most dangerous cities today. Even Detroit and Chicago look peaceful compared to a Stone Age village. In some prehistoric groups, 25% of all adults died violently. That's not war, that's constant terror. So why have you been fed this lie about peaceful ancestors? The noble savage myth serves a purpose. It makes you think violence is artificial, something imposed by bad systems or corrupt leaders. This keeps you focused on external solutions, instead of looking at the real problem, human nature itself. Political movements use this myth to sell you utopian fantasies. Remove the right government, the right economic system, the right social structure, and humans will return to their natural peaceful state. It's propaganda disguised as history. The patterns from 10,000 years ago still show up today. Watch any sports rivalry, and you'll see tribal warfare in miniature. Fans literally paint their faces like ancient warriors. They chant together, move as one group, and view the opposing team as enemies. Office politics follow the same script. Departments form alliances against other departments. People compete for territory, resources, and status. Social media amplifies these ancient patterns. Every political debate becomes a battle for tribal dominance. Violence isn't something we learned from civilization. Violence is our default setting. Humans are naturally aggressive, territorial, and tribal. The archaeological record proves this beyond doubt. Every prehistoric site tells the same story. Humans fighting, killing, and dying in endless cycles of revenge. This happened before writing, before organized religion, before governments, before agriculture. Here's the twist that changes everything. Civilization doesn't make us more violent. It makes us less violent. Modern legal systems, police forces, and social norms act as restraints on our natural aggression. The murder rate in medieval Europe was 10 times higher than today. We're living in the most peaceful period in human history, precisely because we've built systems to control our violent instincts. But if violence is natural, Why does your brain specifically need enemies to function? Your brain has a built-in system that automatically turns strangers into threats, and it's running 24/7. This isn't a bug in your mental software, it's the main feature. Psychologists call this process othering, and it happens without you even realizing it. Your brain constantly sorts people into two categories, us versus them. The people in your group are safe, familiar, and trustworthy. Everyone else becomes a potential threat that needs to be watched, judged, or defeated. Here's the thing about identity formation. You can't actually know who you are without knowing who you're not. Think about it. How do you define yourself as a Democrat or Republican? By pointing out everything wrong with each of the opposing party. How do sports fans show their loyalty? By hating the rival team. How do you prove you're smart? By finding people you think are stupid. Your entire sense of self depends on having someone to oppose. This creates what psychologists call shadow projection. You take all the traits you hate about yourself and dump them onto other people. Those annoying habits, embarrassing thoughts, and character flaws you can't stand. Your brain automatically looks for those same qualities in others and then attacks them for it. The person who constantly lectures others about being lazy is usually avoiding their own work. The politician who screams about corruption is often hiding their own dirty deals. The social media user who calls everyone else fake is usually the most insecure person in the room. Watch this play out in politics. Conservative voters don't just disagree with liberal policies, they see liberals as weak, emotional, and dangerous to society. Liberal voters don't just oppose conservative ideas, they view conservatives as stupid, hateful, and backwards. Both sides project their worst fears about themselves onto the other group. Conservatives fear being seen as heartless, so they call liberals bleeding hearts. Liberals fear being seen as elitist, so they call conservatives uneducated. Sports rivalries work the same way. Fans don't just support their team, they actively hate the opposing team. They'll spend hours explaining why the other team's players are cheaters, why their fans are obnoxious, and why their city is terrible. The opposing team becomes a symbol of everything the fans don't want to be. It's not really about the game, it's about identity. The scary part is how predictable this makes you. Politicians know exactly which buttons to push to make you angry. They don't need to offer real solutions, they just need to point at the right enemy. Media companies know which stories will get you clicking. They don't need to inform you, they just need to make you mad at someone. Advertisers know which fears to trigger. They don't need to sell you products, they just need to make you afraid of being left out. Your brain treats these social conflicts like physical dangers. The same survival circuits that helped your ancestors escape predators now activate when someone disagrees with your political views. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense up. Your thinking becomes narrow and focused. You're ready to fight or run, even though you're just reading comments on social media. This is why peaceful coexistence feels so unnatural. Your brain is constantly scanning for threats and competition. It takes real effort to override these automatic responses. You have to consciously choose to see other people as complex individuals instead of simple enemies. You have to resist the urge to project your own flaws onto others. You have to fight against your own biology. Understanding this system is the first step to breaking free from its control. Once you see how your brain creates enemies, you can start to question those automatic reactions. You can catch yourself before you fall into the trap of us versus them thinking. Now that you know how your brain creates enemies, let's see how society weaponizes this process. Every day, powerful forces are deliberately triggering your ancient tribal instincts to control your behavior. They know exactly how your brain works. They understand your need for enemies, and they're using this knowledge to make you do what they want. Media companies, politicians, and institutions have turned your hardwired conflict drives into their personal profit machine. Here's how they do it. Fear-based messaging hits your brain like a physical attack. News headlines scream about threats to your safety, your family, your way of life. Your ancient survival circuits can't tell the difference between a real predator and a scary news story. Both trigger the same fight-or-flight response. Politicians use this constantly. They don't sell you solutions, they sell you enemies. Vote for me, or the other side will destroy everything you care about. The us versus them framing is everywhere once you see it. News stories don't just report facts. They frame every issue as a battle between good and evil. Democrats versus Republicans, conservatives versus liberals, rich versus poor, young versus old. Every story needs heroes and villains. Complex policy issues get reduced to simple tribal warfare. You're either with us or against us. Here's where it gets really manipulative. They take complex individuals and turn them into cartoon villains. Real people with complicated motivations become simple threats to your identity. Political opponents aren't just wrong, they're dangerous. Business leaders aren't just successful, they're greedy monsters. Social media algorithms make this worse. They show you content that makes you angry, because angry people click more. The algorithm learns what triggers your tribal instincts and feeds you more of it. Watch how this plays out in news cycles. A story breaks. Within hours, every media outlet has picked a side. The narrative gets simplified. The villain gets identified. Your tribe rallies against their tribe. Facts become secondary to the emotional story. You're not getting information, you're getting ammunition for the next tribal battle. Social media platforms function as factories of enemies. The algorithm promotes content that creates division. Posts that make you angry get more engagement. Posts that bring people together get buried. You end up in echo chambers where everyone agrees with you and hates the same people you hate. This isn't an accident. It's profitable. This creates a permanent state of symbolic war in your daily life. Office politics follow the same ancient patterns. Different departments become enemy tribes, fighting for resources and territory. Family arguments turn into battles for moral superiority. Online debates become wars, where winning matters more than understanding. You carry this tribal mindset everywhere you go. The psychological cost is massive. Constant stress from always being in conflict mode. Broken trust because everyone might be an enemy. Emotional exhaustion from fighting battles that don't actually matter. Your mental health suffers when you're always ready for war. Your relationships suffer when you see potential threats everywhere. Here's the thing about propaganda campaigns. They always come before real violence. First, they teach you to see certain groups as less than human. They use dehumanizing language and imagery. They portray entire populations as threats to your existence. This isn't just history, it's happening right now, on social media, in political speeches, and in news coverage. The manipulation works because it exploits your biology. Fear overrides rational thought. Tribal loyalty feels more important than individual thinking. Moral superiority gives you a dopamine hit that's literally addictive. Once you see the manipulation, you can choose not to participate in manufactured conflicts. But here's the real question. How do you break free from this cycle? There's one simple mental shift that makes you immune to divide and conquer tactics. It's called conscious conflict management. Instead of reacting automatically when someone triggers you, you pause. You ask yourself questions. Is this person really my enemy? Am I projecting my own flaws onto them? What am I actually fighting about? This process is called shadow integration. You recognize the dark parts of yourself instead of dumping them on others. When someone annoys you, look for that same trait in yourself first. The person who calls others lazy might be avoiding their own work. Here's the thing about small daily actions. They create massive ripple effects. How you handle one argument at work changes how your co-workers treat each other. The patience you show in a difficult conversation teaches others to do the same. If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Every time you support this channel, you're helping spread ideas that challenge the narrative and bring clarity to the chaos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay aware, stay sharp, and stay human.